Now then, and welcome back to Rare Eddie One Talks podcast. I'm your host, Rare Eddie One, and welcome. Hope you're having a fantastic time. Hope you're having a fantastic day, whatever time of day you're listening to, morning, evening, night, whatever time of day you're listening to. I hope you're having a wonderful and brilliant time. Today is episode 14. Episode 14, it's flown by already. Enjoying these. I love doing this. I absolutely love doing this. But tonight's episode 14, we are concentrating on the UFO landing at the Holloman Air Force Base in 1970s. Did it happen or did it not? We're going to have a look at it and we're going to find out a little bit more. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on that case. But like always, I do have a drink on these episodes, so if you're able to join me with an alcoholic beverage or a beverage of some sort, if you work, obviously fair enough, or if you're driving, fair enough. I hope you can grab something chilled and have a drink with me, because I enjoy hanging out with you guys. I love chatting with you guys and hanging out and having a little drink. And I've had this before. It's from Aldi, again, not sponsored.
Advertising, wow!
But it's Taurus honey flavoured cider. Now, I have opened it already. You get that little kick of honey, and then the cider takes over, and it's just delicious.
And cider.
Just very refreshing. But anyway, if you are, before we get into tonight's episode, I just want to maybe plug a little bit of myself. If you are whatever podcast provider you are listening to, if you could do me the huge favour and follow or subscribe or whatever it is, I'm pretty sure most of it's follow. And it would help me out if you would leave me a review. It really would. Absolutely really would. If you want to get in contact with me on Facebook, Twitter, all my details are in the show notes. If you are watching these on YouTube, on Rumble, because I do put them up on YouTube and Rumble, not straight away. I leave them maybe a week before I get them up. But I do put them up there. If you want to check me out, if you want to see what this beautiful voice is coming from, and you want to check me out, obviously, please do. But yeah, you can find me on there, and if you would think about subscribing to me, that would be awesome. On my YouTube and Rumble channels, I do concentrate more on pop culture. I do paranormal and conspiracies and UFOs on my YouTube channel as well, but I focus mainly on film reviews, pop culture news, and all that good stuff. So if you are there, please think about subscribing to me. That would be awesome. Now, let's get into tonight's show.
About freaking time.
Or today's show, should I say, because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I am having a little cheeky drink, but we're going to get into it. And we're going to have a look at the incident of the UFO landing at the Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. And we're going to have a look, and we're going to have a little discussion and see what it's all about. In the year 1973, Robert Emenegger and Alan Sandler, sorry if I butchered them names, both established and influential business people and producers in Los Angeles, received an invitation to visit Norton Air Force Base in California. Their purpose was to discuss a potential project that would involve making a documentary based on some of the research initiatives being explored at the base. The meeting was attended by Paul Schartl, the head of Intelligence Division, and the Commander-in-Chief of Special Investigation Division. Along with two invitees throughout the meeting, they deliberated on a range of initiatives, including one that focused on a UFO. While the specifics of the discussion are unknown, it can be inferred that the initiatives involving the UFO was of particular interest to all parties involved. This has made the meeting at Norton Air Force Base in 1973 an intriguing and fascinating historical event that continues to capture the attention of researchers and enthusiasts in the present day. A documentary was decided to be made based on some material as it was deemed to be most intriguing and was quickly given approval for development. Several documentaries were filmed at the Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico in 1971. Eventually, Emenegger and Sandler, sorry, I probably butchered them names, were informed about this material. So there is a short video. I've listened to the documentaries and gone through these, and they are producers. They are out of LA, and could they be adding on to the story for dramatic effect? Quite possibly, yes. But I will continue. In October 1988, Schartl revealed to one of the state TV networks that he had seen the 16mm films mentioned above. He described it as follows: 3 disc-shaped flying objects appeared, one of which landed. So when he was talking about them landing, he said it landed not because it wanted to land, it landed because it needed to land, because it was like swaying from side to side, and it looked like there was maybe a problem with the craft itself, and that's why it decided to land, which was very interesting in the documentary I saw. So I'll continue. One which landed while the other 2 took off in different directions. Finally, a door on the landing UFO opened and 3 creatures emerged, said the witness. As the aliens arrived, it was observed that they were about the same height as a man. So maybe in between 5 to 6 foot. Which would be interesting, because short greys are obviously short, and tall. You get a mix of short greys and tall greys. Could this be one of t'other? And not sure, but I'll continue. One of them had a visible nose and a unusual grey complexion, which was quite distinctive. They were all dressed in tight-fitting coveralls. So could these actually be men? And maybe the face mask they was wearing was some advanced mask for them to use in these made spaceships. That I'll get to my thoughts at the end of this. And so I'll continue. They were all dressed in tight-fitting coveralls. I think they were all silver. So could that have added to the grey complexion? Maybe. That seemed to be well suited for their body type. The headdress that they wore were quite intriguing, as they may have been used for communication purposes. The aliens had a translator in their hands with them, which indicated that they were prepared to communicate with the humans. Upon their arrival, they were greeted by the commander of the Holloman Air Force Base and several Air Force commanders. Sorry, these are my notes, but I am heavily dyslexic, so please bear with me. I am I am improving. I do see improvements, but I am heavily dyslexic, so please bear with me. Emenegger was confident that he would obtain the recording information for the documentary, but little did he know that there was more to this encounter than he had anticipated. Robert was taken to Norton Base in 1971, where he saw the hangar and landing pad where the spacecraft had been parked. So that's interesting. I'll get to my thoughts at the end of my notes. The sight of the spacecraft left him in awe as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. He was then taken to structures. He was taken to structures on the base, numbers 338 and 1382, where he witnessed discussions between the officers and the aliens. Over the next few days, these discussions were intense and focused on trying to establish means of communication and understanding between the two groups. The aliens were curious about the humans, and the officers were eager to learn more about the aliens. I'll my thoughts at the end of this. It was truly unique encounter that left lasting impressions on everyone that was involved. So, a quick little thought. I know I said I'll leave these to the end, but so it says, I've got it here that it said the humans were eager to learn more about the aliens. Now, were the humans were more eager to learn about their technology to advance our technology on Earth? I think that's probably more the case than wanting to learn about the aliens themselves. Anyway, I'll continue. Witness report. Witnesses reported the UFOs landing at approximately 6 a.m. The aliens were described as professional doctors. Interesting.
Doctors are idiots.
With lips that looked like slits and no chins. Their eyes had vertical pupils similar to those of a cat. It was the only known instance of an Air Force officer of the highest rank having direct contact with extraterrestrials. Robert and Alan were planning a documentary on the events that happened that day, which they hoped to expand to include future possibilities. The military promised to provide footage of the landing, but failed to follow through their agreement. Obviously, the military isn't going to give that shit up. The military fucking went back on the crashed UFO at Roswell. Yeah, they said they had a crash flying saucer. Next day later, it was a crashed weather balloon. Whether you believe that or not, that's up to you. So Robert was disappointed and confronted Colonel George Weinberger. Robert was disappointed and confronted the Colonel George Brenner at Patterson Air Force Base to find out. So we've got 3 Air Force bases involved now, to find out why the documentary about the UFOs was put on hold. Robert claimed they had a meeting in Brenner's workplace, so at the base itself, where the colonel acted strangely, complaining loudly about the MiG-25s and the necessity of learning everything about them because the Soviets had many things hid from the USA, from the US. Obviously, both sides were hiding everything from each other. because they were at war. I know it was a Cold War, but they were at odds with one another. As they were discussing the jet fighter, so as the colonel was discussing the jet fighter, the man reached. As the colonel was discussing or complaining about the jet fighter, the colonel then reached for a book from one of the nearby shelves and handed it to Robert. The book in question was The UFO Experience by Alan Hynek. The great Alan Hynek, a renowned astronomer and ufologist. First published in 1972. To add a personal touch, the colonel signed the book. Why would he sign? I don't know. Why would the colonel be signing the book? Maybe he thinks it might be something to, maybe Robert was seeing him signing it. He could maybe trust the colonel a little bit more, but it was definitely strange behaviour. The whole situation. Roberts then went on to say the whole situation felt surreal, like something from a Kafkaesque play. Robert was convinced that the UFO landing depicted in the movie he had just watched was authentic, based on the colonel's strange behaviour. Well, however, the colonel was unable to report this fact openly, as their conversations had been recorded. It was a frustrating predicament for both of them, as the truth about the UFO sighting could not be shared with the wider public. I think we're getting to a point where the public sort of believes, in the wider public anyway, sort of believes. You've still got a lot of people out there that do not believe. The documentary UFO Past, Present and Future by Sandler Institution Films Inc. was released in 1974 along with a paperback book of the same name. Although the alleged secret video was not included, the future section of the book, pages 127 to 129, describe the incident. The photo section includes an illustration of the extraterrestrial ship in the Holloman Air Force Base, which was based on eyewitness accounts. Robert, who later worked for the military and intelligence agencies for many more years and was involved in other incidences. The story served as a base for the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977. Great fucking film, which had a cameo from the great Alan Hynek, who made an appearance in the film. In the video, Mike Farrell and star of MASH interview. So there is a couple of interviews what I watched with Robert and Paul. The interview is quite interesting, and the evidence captured on cameras is authentic, and original. This was before invention of CGI, so it's got to be sort of real, or we say before the invention of CGI. We all know the governments have. So I think I've talked about this before, but the military had nuclear powered drones in the 70s. Now that sounds crazy. Nuclear powered drones in the 70s, but take the nuclear part out of it. They had drones in the 70s. When were people starting seeing drones? Maybe at 90s, late 90s, 2000s. So that's 20 years, possibly 20 years, maybe 30 years of maybe not knowing about the drones, or maybe did we know about the drones, early 90s, late 80s, we all know the government, the military especially, have technology, and they're so far ahead of us that could CGI had been invented by the military for so-called reports and videos. So maybe it happened in the past. Maybe they bombed something they shouldn't have. So to present to their chiefs in charge that they CGI'd out a bombing or something, could that be a possibility? Just my random thought there. But I've got the video pulled up. I'm not going to play the full video because copyright claims and all that for YouTube, but it's just the video of the UFO itself. So in the film, in the documentary, let me get the name, Past, Present and Future, this was left in. This was one of the original documentaries of movies from the military, and it was left in, and it doesn't show a lot. It just, I'm going to play it and sort of explain.
As you see the hills.
I'm going to play it without the fucking volume this time. So it's basically a orb, and it looks like it's slowly coming to Earth. It just looks like it's floating down. Could it be a balloon of some sort floating down? It could be. It does. It's circular. So could it be a disc-shaped UFO, or could it be a blimp or a balloon? Quite possibly. But it's floating down, and this is in the mountains of said Holloman Air Force Base. It does look interesting, and this apparently was left in the film in the documentary. What I've heard through the interviews and documentaries I've seen and read, this was left in. It was one of the guys. I think it was Robert, but it could have been Paul. One of them said they was explaining to one of the producers of the documentary, and he said we've got this, we've got some of the clip from the military, and I think it was Robert. He says yes, but there's nothing in it, and he said, what do you mean? And who he was talking to, he said, what do you mean there's nothing in it? And he said, there's nothing in it. In the background, there's nothing in it. And that's where they look in the background, and this is where this sort of footage comes from. And they don't get it landing, they just have it floating down. And that's all they get. It's just floating down, and that's it. But if you are watching, I will copy the video, and I will link this. It's only a 3 minute and 15 second little clip. But there is a couple more. There's a lot of YouTube videos and documentaries. Holloman Air Force Base, UFO Tape, The Truth. By Rod Serling. There is a few, but it's just very interesting. If you are a ufologist, or you will know about this story. You will know about the potential craft landing at the Holloman Air Force Base. So let me get on to my thoughts on this. I think this was a real encounter. I think the military were trying to to maybe think out. I think the generals were maybe thinking out of the box, thinking if we have this documentary filmed, we can maybe show it to other forces and maybe get out there, and this is what you do when you get in contact with aliens from another world. But when they started to realise that we've fucked up somehow, we've fucked this up, and they held on to a lot of the material, a lot of the footage. But I think the generals and colonels were thinking outside the box. Maybe if we film this documentary, we could show it to our superiors, or we could show it to the next generation, something like that. But I think it's a real case. I think it's a real. Maybe the video is false, and maybe that one what I've just shown is false. Maybe that is just a balloon floating down. But I generally don't take Hollywood people fucking serious. But these are in the 70s and 80s, so maybe they were being genuine and trying to get the truth out there. And it was, if it was a movie, then fair enough, but they were documentaries, so why would you want a documentary? Why? Yes, I know there's people out there that want to false and so they get clicks, but this was way before clicks in viral videos. This was way before that, so it's just interesting in that way. But I still believe it was a real case, and I still believe that the military met some aliens in silver suits. Could they have been great? Yeah.
Alien autopsy.
Human size. That sort of bothers me a little bit. So could it be a case of humans had this technology, had the UFOs, and they created some special suits so humans could actually fly the UFO? That's a possibility, because who knows what's the UFO could have, could be made of something, some sort of material that's harmful to humans, and this is where they get the special suits and the masks with a little slit in the mouth, maybe, or could this genuinely be an alien with a fancy headdress on, which is like, and they did have translators in their hand. So is this where we got the inspiration for like the little iPod or little mobile phones? I think we was always going that way, but that's just a little thought. So that's my thoughts. I think this was an actual case. I think this actually happened. I've looked everywhere.
Where? Everywhere.
I've looked everywhere, and it still seems very compelling to me that this actually happened. Again, could this be UFO with actual aliens, or could this be UFO that we've captured or dug up, and we've finally got it working, and the three aliens were actually us in suits? But I think this was a real case, and they had filmed real events, and the military kept hold of it. Let me know your thoughts. I would be interested to know your thoughts on this case. Do you think it's aliens? Do you think it's a UFO? Do you think it's just a hot air balloon just floating down? Or do you think it was these LA producers, falsely putting claims out and trying to get their sensationalize their documentaries and trying to get them picked up by everywhere? Do you think that could be the case? Again, I I believe this was an actual case and it actually happened. But if you want to try and prove me, it was false, then go ahead, because I am open to it. But until that day, I'm going to believe this actually happened. Now, I think this was quite a short one, so I'm going to continue my Watch Mojo's top 10 of Reddit conspiracies that might actually be true. Now, I started this and I was saying this was my dirty/naughty conspiracies, which it wasn't. It's just basically just when I was searching dirty/naughty conspiracies, dirty was in the first one, and so that's where it came up. But so I continue, and number 2, pockets versus purses. The pocket on most clothing marketed towards women suck. They're usually too small to hold anything bigger than a toothpick. And whenever there is a piece of clothing with good pockets, it's exciting. So why doesn't the fashion industry make bigger or better pockets for women's clothes? If the demand is there, one Reddit theory suggests that the fashion companies are purposely keeping these pockets useless to sell more purses. After all, you don't see a lot of purses made for men, and they seem to be doing just fine. So if people who wear women's clothes didn't need purses anymore, surely purse sales would plummet, right? That's quite a boring conspiracy, to be honest with you. Pockets versus purses. How many times do you see women wanting to go out with a purse, wanting to accessorize with a purse? I think that's just a crap conspiracy, really. I don't think there's much into that. But women can wear fucking men's jeans, and men's trackies, which have great pockets. But I see a lot of women just fucking, wanting to, especially if they're going out, a lot of women will want to accessorize and have a purse, a fashionable purse, maybe named, it maybe have Calvin Klein or, whatever name. And I think I don't think there's nothing in that one. Sorry, Watch Mojo. The beautiful Rebecca Brown, there's nothing in that one. But anyway, that's episode 14. I've had a blast hanging out with you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please leave me a review. Please follow me on whatever podcast provider you are listening to. Please, that would help me out so much. If you are watching these, please give me a like and think about subscribing to me. That would be awesome. I am thinking of doing a podcast which will be mainly pop culture and pop culture news and trailer news. I am thinking of putting one of them out as well. Maybe not weekly, but maybe every other week. I am thinking of doing that. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on this case, the UFO landing at the Holloman Air Force Base. Let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you was able to have a drink with me and enjoy hanging out with me, because I fucking had a blast hanging out with you guys. Absolute awesome time. If you didn't like this video, I thank you anyway for listening, and I hope I can change your mind. This has been Rare Eddie One Talks podcast. I've been your host, Rare Eddie One. Stay naughty, stay rude, but more importantly, stay fucking filthy. I will see you next time. Peace.